Good morning, and thanks for walking with me today. We're about to step into one of the most extraordinary places in the world, the Forbidden City. For over 500 years, this was the beating heart of imperial China, home to emperors, concubines, eunuchs, guards, and servants, all living behind these massive red walls hidden from the outside world. We've just walked through the entrance that only the emperor could pass through on horseback. Everyone else dismounted, unless you were a concubine. They were carried in covered sedans, shielded from sight. But don't mistake that for safety. Many were sent here never to leave again. In fact, the Forbidden City was often called a golden cage for women. Some were brought in at age 13, barely teenagers, never to see their families again. The emperor might never even look at them. One concubine, Lady Wang, reportedly lived here for 50 years without ever seeing the emperor. When she died, her only belongings were a mirror, a hairpin, and a few poems she'd written on scraps of silk. Ahead of us, there's the Hall of Supreme Harmony. This is where the emperor held court, but behind that majesty were endless rituals. Eunuchs were everywhere. Over 10,000 served here at one time. Some were powerful, like Wei Zhongxian, who controlled the court during the late Ming dynasty. He was feared more than the emperor himself. But most eunuchs were poor boys, whose families gave them up in hopes of a better life. After castration, they were locked in quarantine for 100 days. Many didn't survive. Those who did lived in shadow, but some learned to play politics better than anyone else. The golden throne in the Hall of Supreme Harmony wasn't something the emperor just sat on whenever he liked. It was reserved strictly for ceremonial occasions, like coronations, imperial weddings, and the New Year's celebrations. In fact, emperors sometimes avoided sitting on it at all, fearing it might anger the heavens if they weren't spiritually or morally worthy. Some emperors even performed special purification rituals before sitting there. Everything here was designed to intimidate and symbolize power. The number of dragon motifs on the ceiling? Exactly 9 times 9 equals 81, because 9 is the highest single-digit number in Chinese numerology, symbolizing the emperor's supreme authority. Even the stairways leading up to the hall were meant to exhaust visiting envoys, who would arrive breathless and humbled before the throne. Despite being the heart of power, no women, empresses, or concubines were allowed in the Hall of Supreme Harmony. It was considered a masculine space, symbolizing yang energy. But that didn't stop Empress Dowager Cixi from secretly watching ceremonies from behind a screen, literally ruling from the shadows. She even had a special window cut for her at one point to see what was happening inside. Here we are at Fengchen Men, Gate of Serving the Heavenly Palace. This gate stood at the western side of the Forbidden City and was often used by imperial family members and trusted palace staff. Some say it was also a quiet route taken by the Empress Dowager or high-ranking concubines, away from the bustle of the main courtyards. Imagine slender figures in embroidered silk robes slipping past here at dawn, guarded by silence and duty. For them, serving the emperor wasn't just a role, it was their destiny. Notice that the Forbidden City walls are red in color. In Chinese culture, red represents happiness, good fortune, and protection from evil. Paired with the golden yellow roofs above, reserved only for the emperor, this bold color scheme was designed to showcase imperial power and prosperity. Every color here meant something. This is the Palace of Soaring Earth, one of the 6 Western palaces in the inner court, traditionally used as the residences of imperial concubines. One of the most tragic and well-known stories from the inner court is that of Consort Zhen, a favorite concubine of the Guangxu Emperor during the late Qing dynasty. Unlike many others, Consort Zhen was educated, elegant, and outspoken, qualities rare and dangerous for a woman in the imperial court. She supported Guangxu's reform efforts to modernize China and often encouraged him to stand up to the Empress Dowager Cixi. But that defiance would cost her. In 1898, after Cixi staged a coup to suppress the 100 Days Reform, she placed the emperor under house arrest. Consort Zhen, stripped of influence, was confined to her quarters in the inner court. And then, on the eve of Beijing's occupation by foreign forces during the Boxer Rebellion, Cixi, preparing to flee, allegedly gave the order, "Throw her down the well." Servants carried out the command. Zhen was just 24. Today, that well still exists, hidden in a quiet courtyard near the Palace of Concubines. It's called the Pearl Concubine's Well, named after her posthumous title. Some say her spirit still lingers, wearing a robe of white, walking the narrow lanes at night, searching not for vengeance, but for justice. This fearsome creature is a xie, a mythical beast known for its sense of justice. In legend, it could spot a liar just by looking at them, and it never hesitated to punish the guilty. Statues like this one were placed at important palace entrances, reminding everyone who passed that truth and righteousness were expected inside. This stunning structure is the Hill of Accumulated Elegance, located in the Imperial Garden at the northern end of the Forbidden City. Rockeries like this symbolized the mountains of the immortals, part of traditional Taoist cosmology. Thank you for walking with me today. If you felt the whispers of the past, if even one story stayed with you, leave a comment, share the tale, and join me next time for another walk into history.